All right. Hey.
Sorry, I was listening to Howard Stern. They get on a hey-o kick sometimes, and it just makes you want to do that.
All the time.
All the time.
Please do that in somebody else's garage. I posted a picture of Bo Dukes, and it's funny to me because when I posted that, hey, there's some news about Bo Dukes, and we'll probably talk about that on Off the Record.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody replied, one of the replies was, well, I probably will listen, which I thought was funny. The other one was, ooh-wee, what's up with that? No. What's up with that? Ooh-wee. And I went, hey, this is somebody that gets us. So whoever posted that, you are a genius.
Somebody actually posted the "What's up with that" skit, like a little picture of the skit, or just the words.
Ooh, what's up with that? What's up with that?
All right, so I was home alone yesterday, having some beers, watching you know how much I love the NFL playoffs. So I was like a kid in a candy store, right. And during my excitement, I did break into a "What's up with that" dance and song. Thank God no one was around.
Yeah. Ooh-wee.
Anyone that's not seen that, that should be stored on your desktop somewhere for any time you're feeling down and out or having a bad day. You just keep it on your computer, watch it, instant mood change.
Well, I also like when people say, how do you come up with the captain intros? And I go, the amount of times that we stop, sometimes it's mid-recording. We're not even to the break yet. And I'll just be thinking, this is so depressing, and I'll toss up something, old Saturday Night Live or some comedy special, and sometimes there's a little saying or a joke or something. You go, oh, that would make a good captain intro.
Mm-hmm.
So Bo Dukes, I think my post was, Bo Dukes, what are you doing? What is wrong with you?
Well,
I mean, you steal over $100,000 from the government.
Right.
Now, I believe it's through the Army, but let's just say government.
Mm-hmm.
You are going to spend at least 2 years in jail for that. You haven't had to serve your time yet. Basically, he was sentenced to 2 years. Then the judge says, hey, we're going to let you out. We're going to let you get your affairs in order. And then at some point, we're going to issue you a date that you'll have to come and turn yourself in.
Mm-hmm. And
because there's no violent offense. Now, they knew what was happening when that trial was happening. That judge did know what was going on with the Tara Grinstead case, but again, you could argue it's a non-violent offense. Even though I think you could also argue, yes, the person wasn't alive, but burning a body is a violent offense.
Mm-hmm. I could see both arguments for that. So Bo Dukes, we haven't discussed him since like October of last year when we covered Tara Grinstead, who she was a teacher that went missing in Georgia, South Georgia. And I mean, they never found her for the longest time.
Cold case for 11 years.
And eventually Bo Dukes, he's going around kind of telling people that, especially when he has too much to drink,
mm-hmm.
that he was involved somehow. His girlfriend, I believe, or ex-girlfriend at the time, one of the two, goes to law enforcement and starts talking.
Yeah.
And then they start talking to Bo Dukes. The stealing from the government thing, correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I recall that was he was in charge of some allocating funds and monies and stuff like that and purchases for the Army or whatever branch it was. And he was sometimes buying things and then later fencing them, later selling them off.
Yeah.
And then also probably fudging the paperwork too. You know, if you buy something for $10, you charge the government $50.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he went into Fort Knox and stole gold bars or anything like that. He was really just kind of duping them on their purchases that they put him in charge of making.
Right.
Entrusted him with this responsibility, and he couldn't help himself but to steal six figures.
Yeah, it's very similar to bankers. You know, they're in charge of your money, but there's bankers that steal every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so the judge was waiting to give him a date to come in and serve his time. But for whatever reason, that normally they give you 4 to 6 weeks, but that time has already passed. But the date just has never been given to him. So on top of that, you have that weighing on your mind that at some point they're going to tell you, hey, you got 2 weeks, you got 4 weeks, you got whatever, you got to come in. So the alleged accusations against Bo Dukes is that he held 2 women at gunpoint, brought them captive back to a resident. I've seen mixed reports. Some state that he's going to be charged with raping them both. I've seen reports that he'll only be charged with rape on one of them, but then I've also seen that he'll be charged with sodomy charges as well. And there's actually video footage of the girls running from that residence to the neighbor's house. I believe the one girl looks like she's in a towel, which this is just my little pea brain. When she talks to the officer sits there and talks to her outside, and I just keep thinking, this girl's in a towel. It looks like it's raining. Like, you'd think if you're the officer, you'd be going, okay, honey, let's get you in a car or let's get you in a house or something. Mm-hmm. So we're not just sitting out here in the rain while you're in a towel. But who knows what kind of condition she was in, but and then there's just mixed reports too. Some saying that a neighbor came by and that's kind of what stopped the whole thing. And then other people saying that his girlfriend came home. And then it makes you wonder, is this the girlfriend that turned him into GBI? So there's a lot of questions here. But what we do know is that from January 1st, I mean, just think about this. Bo Dukes at some point is sitting around watching Dick Fart's New Year's Eve. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking, 2019 is going to be my year. And this guy immediately on January 1st is on the run from law enforcement. So it looks like however this was broken up, whether it was a neighbor or the girlfriend coming home, the girl's running next door, he takes off.
Right.
And now
there was a manhunt for Bo Dukes.
Yeah. And I think at one point they issued U.S. Marshals to get involved. Well, then they realized that I think it's Ocilla is where he's from.
Right.
And that's close to Macon, but the idea was they thought he was going to have some contact with his family. They actually thought he was going to try to make contact or try to go there to hide out. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of watching this property, and then he shows up, I think the other day, a couple days ago, and they were waiting for him. So the family issued a statement. I'm not going to read that statement. Because I've heard this is just rumors, but I heard from a lot of people that live in that area that he comes from not directly, but encompassing his family has money.
Right.
And because of their orchard, and that's, on the orchard is where they found Tara Grinstead's, well, that's where they claim that they burned Tara Grinstead's body. But in that area, they said that, look, this guy, Bo Dukes, was doing some bad shit for a long time, and that this family kept on enabling him. And look, that's just rumors, so I don't want to throw them under the bus, but that's what I heard. I also heard rumors that they thought that he was going to go to the orchard and to possibly take out the people that live there. Mm-hmm. That was a rumor that I was seeing on the internet, and then that makes you wonder, do they know something more about the Tara Grinstead case? Because as of right now, the only charges that we think might be, we don't know if there's going to be murder charges brought against Bo Dukes. We know that Ryan Duke is going to face probably murder charges in that case. But what the charges, so that's what's weird. So first, why is he not in jail? Well, we told you the one reason about stealing money from the Army, and they normally give you some time to get your affairs in order. the Tara Grinstead charges, he will be charged with something. That's the other thing is I was frustrated because when I was reading this, I'm going, you burn a body and you're not in prison. But then I started thinking, okay,
well,
okay.
Sorry, but just to interrupt here, and this, who knows, because as you were kind of alluding to, there are conflicting reports and different stories coming out about this because there are a lot of moving pieces here. And
well, you have to have moving pieces when you're on the run.
Yeah, the information I found on, this is AJC.com. Now, they say that he was out on bond from charges related to the death of Tara Grinstead. And it was a $15,000 bond. And so...
Yeah, so who puts... Okay, so you owe over six figures.
Right.
And somebody puts up $15,000. So that makes me feel like the rumors about the family enabling him seem a little true. Because who puts up $15,000?
Well, think about what Bo Dukes has done during this situation. So after his confession comes to light, is kind of made public, and there's an arrest of his, longtime friend, former classmate Ryan Duke, no relation. He starts. It looks to me like hey, I was involved in this, but in a way, I'm somewhat a victim too because I didn't know what was going on. I helped burn this body, and woe is me. I've had a drug and alcohol problem since then because I can't deal with what I did.
Right.
And so you wonder, old family members who have some money, do they go, well, I mean, at least he confessed to it and he's going to help put this guy away. And yeah, he's going to have to do some time. 15 grand is not a lot to put up. Sometimes in these situations though, too.
Well, you get the money back though, right?
You do, but I wonder if these new charges will prevent that.
Oh, yeah. Whoever gave him the $15,000 to get out, they're not getting their money back.
Yeah, because, I mean, even if he wouldn't be charged with anything else, which it sounds like he will and he should be, but I think even if you flee the area, that there's certain stipulations to these bonds that right. You will not get them back, or whoever posted them for you will not get them back. Now, one thing that happens sometimes, and this could happen, let's say I'm going to reference a name, and I know it didn't happen in this specific instance, but so take somebody like Scott Peterson. Okay, so a guy that claims he's innocent, and if a judge would have set up a system where he could be out on bond or bail, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
When you got a guy like that and nobody likes you, you can't get anybody to come to your defense, anybody to post your bond for you. In some cases, I have seen where the lawyer that represents that individual will post the bond.
Yeah.
And then they bill that into your lawyer fee later on.
Right, because the idea is if nothing happens and you just stay at home and you just live your life and then you show up, that they're going to get their money back anyways.
Yeah.
So, but in this case, when you hold people by gunpoint, so that's one, there's going to be a charge there. There's going to be a kidnapping charge at some point, and they'll just toss that on top of the rape and on top of the sodomy charges.
Yeah. This website says that the new accusations of rape and false imprisonment came allegedly after he assaulted two women on New Year's Day. Apparently, according to this article, he brought them into his home under the threat of violence and victimized them with a gun in hand.
Right. So, but that's what I wonder. Okay, were they just walking?
Well, that's what's interesting to me because they go on in this article to say that it is police are declining to say how the three were acquainted. So the women that he victimized and Bo, how were these three acquainted? Were these, and this is what scares me here. If these were two women that he knew in advance that knew him, and right. He brings them back to his place with the threat of violence, I'm assuming victimize them with gun in hand, he might have brought them to his home using the weapon, using the gun.
Right. But wouldn't you be charged with kidnapping then?
You would 100%. And that's probably the false imprisonment.
Right.
Most of the time, false imprisonment is can be, I think it's a lesser charge than actual kidnapping. But usually, sometimes in these situations, they'll charge you with a lesser charge to hold you. And as they collect evidence, they might elevate those charges to more, something more severe.
Right. And it also made me wonder, did they know him and then just happened to be at the house?
Well, that's what scares me.
And then that's when he turned on him like, hey, I got a gun.
That's what scares me, because here's the situation that I think about immediately is if he knew these people, if they knew him, at least knew his name and all that jazz. If they didn't know him, you could see a situation where you could look, if they don't know who you are, you could kidnap somebody, victimize them, and drop them off in the middle of nowhere, and there might be a chance that they can't identify you.
Right.
If they already know who Bo Dukes is, what was his intentions after he victimized them? How was he planning on getting away with this? Was this going to involve murder?
Right.
And covering up these other horrible charges that he's now facing. So, and I know there's different rumors about how...
Then he waits 11 years, and he blames it all on Ryan.
Yeah.
That's what he was going to do.
Well, so it sounds like this article states that one of the women escaped through a window while Bo was distracted by something, ran to the neighbor's home, and when he figured out that one of them had got away, he then fled his home, which was in Warner Robins, which I don't know where that is in proximity to Osceola, but he fled
this few hours away, I believe.
Warner Robins area in a white 2013 Kia Sorento. And they go on to say Warner Robins...
It's a nice neighborhood, though.
Is it?
I mean, when you see the video footage, you go, look, this looks like a new construction neighborhood. Nice houses. I mean, the neighbor obviously not only has a nice house, but he had a nice security system to catch this footage. So it's just very strange.
Another curious thing is that Warner Robins police said Dukes had made suicidal threats. So I'm wondering if that doesn't have anything to do with this particular situation. Like, maybe were these suicidal threats in advance, or did he have some kind of communication with his attorney when he was on the run?
Right. Well, I think what's happening here too is, one, he was kind of talking suicide all the time anyways. I mean, he talked about suicide before the confession, then he talked a little bit about it afterwards, but then did this whole thing where he's like, but now that this is lifted off my chest and I got a chance for a new start and all this stuff, then those thoughts have gone away. I'm guessing it's the girl gets free, which, I mean, look, this is an awful situation that these two girls are in. But what I like in this story, you saw opening and you took it. Because you got a guy sitting there with a gun. What are your alternatives? If you don't try to do something, if you just sit there and nothing happens, what happens? Do you both end up shot? Do you both end up dead? Do you both end up, on an orchard field somewhere being burnt? Like, those are the alternatives most of the time. So to see that somebody, there's a window, I'm going to take it. And that saved both of your lives. And I mean, it's like she was a hero for herself and somebody else.
Oh, and it could ultimately save lives in the future, because Dukes was not technically, we don't know what kind of prison sentence he would have received from this. He's 34 years old, according to this article. So, I mean, even if the guy was facing 20, 25 years.
He's 34?
Yeah.
34 years of douchebaggery.
I actually thought he was older than that.
Well, he looks like shit.
Well, that's the cocaine, man.
Yeah.
He's got the old cocaine face. But you wonder, like, if he would have received 20, 25 years and then got out at some point. Look, this is extremely violent behavior. And whatever his involvement was with Tara Grinstead, you really have to call that into question, his whole confession now. Because, look, dude, sorry, but not sorry, Reese's.
Not sorry.
But we know you're capable of kidnapping women, assaulting them, whatever, raping them, whatever comes to light out of this. We don't know all the details at the moment, but we know you're capable of that. How much further of a stretch is it for me to go, well, shit, maybe he did this whole Tara Grinstead thing himself, and his drunk buddy that's been drunk for a decade
since he was born.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a difficult, and you know what it reminds me of?
Well, wait, I want to throw something on that to remind everybody, in a shock to everybody. Ryan pled not guilty.
Right.
So is this bullshit story that, and look,
but Ryan's still locked up,
right,
waiting for some kind of trial.
Yes, which is going to start soon. And what's interesting, though, and these are other rumors that I heard, was they pled not guilty, and then the next step was for them to start showing their hand of what kind of defense that they're going to have.
Right.
Okay, you're not guilty, but why? Well, a lot of people said that it was going to be one of those he said, she said arguments.
He said.
Well, he said, you're right. But that he was waiting because for whatever reason that he was scared of retaliate, because they knew the charges that Bo had charges against him, that he was going to go to prison for 2 years. And they were waiting for all that to happen. But when the judge then didn't have a date that he was set to go to prison, they've kind of held back on some of this stuff. Like basically well, we're waiting until he's locked up. And then once he's locked up, then we'll start coming forward with some information they know. And then it makes you wonder, is Ryan working with GBI on anything? Because GBI has the stories from, GBI is the reason why Ryan's locked up. They're actually the reason why Bo should be locked up. But
here's what
I know he's out on bail, but it's like I just don't know if you should give bail to somebody like that.
It's very questionable. But GBI, what they really need to do here, Captain, is they need to try to put one or both of these individuals at the scene of the abduction of Tara Grinstead,
right,
at her home where we believe she was taken from. And if you can physically put one or both of these guys here, because we need somebody to clear this up for us, because what we have here is this is so much like Serial, so much like Adnan Syed, where we have two guys that are somewhat friends on what, you can argue what kind of friends they were, what kind of friends they weren't. Who cares? They were friends. And later you have one guy saying, yes, I was involved. Here's the little bits that I was involved in. And this other guy killed this woman.
Right.
And it's really a very similar story. And the thing I hate about that is,
no,
it's unclear what actually happened in Adnan Syed's case.
Right, but here's what's super interesting. In that case, Adnan had a car. Jay was borrowing the car. In this case, Ryan didn't have a car.
Right.
Ryan was borrowing Bo's car.
Mm-hmm.
It's the same situation.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think I led on to this, that when we covered the story, I get these weird, I don't know if it was social media messages or maybe it was a email, but it was Bo Dukes. And he said, I want to tell you my side of the story. I thought, oh, shit. And then he figured out, hey, these guys cover a new case every week. They're not making a series on this. Mm-hmm. So I think what he thought was, these guys are going to do a series on this, and I'm going to get a jump on them so I can have a good light shed on me instead of being on the bad side and having, another podcast talk shit about me. I'm going to get on these guys' good side. Well, once he realized that, hey, we're not doing a series, he just basically was like, well, I don't need to talk to you. I go, no, you don't. Then he listened to an episode. For whatever reason, he said, I just think you want to know the truth. So he calls me. He tells me his side of the story. It sounds believable.
Right.
But also, if this is a story that you've been telling yourself to make yourself feel better for the last 11 years, it's going to come out the same. Right. I also said to him, and that's the thing, don't tempt me. I'm nuts. I'm on the phone with a guy. He could hang up. I don't give a shit. I called him a piece of shit multiple times on the phone. What was surprising to me is you'd think this guy on some level would go, well, I'm tired of you calling me a piece of shit. I'm going to hang up the phone. Hour and a half goes by. I think I called him a piece of shit like 4, maybe 6 times. Never hangs up the phone. Agrees with me every time.
Right.
Again, he could have just been trying to play me, but his story, the parts that there was no logical sense, he didn't have an answer for. And part of me, when he was constantly not having an answer for, I thought, well, this might be a bullshit story. Because then his thought is, once we get to this point where I did something stupid, if I just don't have an answer, well, why did that happen? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would know if you analyze anything for the last 11 years, you'd know why you did it. And it could be something stupid, but you would have drawn something from your past. When I was 3 years old, this thing happened, and that's probably why I did it.
Mm-hmm.
But he had no answer for any of that stuff. But I also feel, and look, I'm going to say this, and I don't want anybody to think like, oh, well, he feels bad. I don't feel bad for Bo Dukes at all.
No.
Literally, it's, what are you doing, you idiot?
Well, and you have to wonder, is he really the psychopath in this whole story? And has he been manipulating everyone since this happened and kind of controlling the narrative that's out there and controlling the thoughts of what actually went down in Tara's case?
Right.
And he can't control himself. And now the real Bo Dukes, please stand up. And we're starting to see who he really is.
I really think, look, if we know for a fact that you rape a girl, look, let's just start chopping off cocks, right? I'm telling you, the amount of rapes would go down by 90-some% if you said, hey, look, the penalty is not only are we going to put you in jail, not only are we going to handcuff you like an animal, but we're going to chop your cock off. A lot of people would think twice. And so I don't know if he was trying to play me, but I also think maybe he is one of these people. There are criminals that do bad shit and dumb shit and feel bad about it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so I think the fact that he did feel bad about it, and that's what I sensed, that he felt bad about it, that doesn't mean he's innocent of anything.
No.
Just means that he does dumb shit, that he does illegal shit, that he is so self-centered and selfish of an individual. But then afterwards, he cares. But I don't think he cares about what happened to Tara's family or what happened to Tara's community. No. I don't think he cares about his buddy Ryan. I don't think he cares about these girls.
He's claimed that for years, but obviously we can see now he doesn't. I mean,
he cares that it affected his life.
Right.
He talked about how like it was a weight off his shoulders. Well, it wasn't because you're trying to do justice. It was because that you finally he got to finally quit looking over his shoulder. The whole time he probably thought they're going to arrest me any day now, and eventually they'll find me.
They'll find me.
But one thing that he did say that was interesting was
to you.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm going to say it now because I don't give.
Yeah, but he's under the he's under the gag order, not you.
No,
I think
you can't gag me. Not into that stuff. Not into that stuff. So, anyways, yeah, I hope I hope they chop his cock off in prison. But he said this, and I thought this was interesting. And also, I don't think he's a dumb guy by any means. I mean, he does dumb shit, but talking to him like he has some kind of brains in between his ears. But I said, okay, well, why aren't you in jail? And he didn't even say the bond thing.
Okay.
Like, you're telling me this story, but how is anybody supposed to believe you? Now he did this shitty stuff, right? So how are we supposed to believe him at all in this Tara Grinstead case? Evidence is evidence, though. So even if he does this shit, even if he gets charged with this stuff, even if he gets charged with 2 counts of kidnapping, 2 counts of rape, 2 counts of sodomy, and he spends a long time in jail, does that directly mean that he was involved in the Tara case more than what he stated? No. And what's going to be difficult, and I don't know if he knows this answer, but this is what he stated. He goes, I told the story to GBI like 6 months before the arrest.
Mm-hmm.
So he's talking with GBI. He's working with GBI. They're saying, you got to tell us more so we can believe you. And then they're going back after he talks and checking evidence.
Right.
And what he believes is that they have some kind of evidence that puts Ryan inside Tara's home.
Yeah.
And that there's nothing to put him inside the home.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, they started believing his story.
Well, let's look at it from this angle, because I would think that when you're approached, your GBI, you're approached with this confession.
Yeah.
Your first thought is, okay, I want to hear and record everything that this guy claims.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm sitting here trying to figure out, did you actually do this? And you're trying to throw this guy under the bus? Because, you know what I mean? That's where I think the going back and forth and checking and talking and checking and talking comes in. They're trying to confirm, hey, is his story right, or was he the actual perpetrator of this murder?
Right.
And what's also fascinating too, and I hope this is right for all involved, but I wonder if Georgia has the 3 strikes rule. And I know that rule plays differently in the states that have it, but
right.
it would seem to me, Captain, that between all these charges, the new charges and some of the old ones, that you probably have 3 high-level felony charges in there that would qualify for the 3 strikes rule. And that would make him a lifer. That would make him a life in prison. And I'm more familiar with the way that it works in California, because I think they were the first to do the 3 strikes rule.
Right.
But in California, you get life, but you do get the possibility of parole. And I believe it's 25 years before you're even eligible for parole.
Well, I think, okay, you have the 2-year prison, but then you are on probation. This violates your probation. So you're going to get the 2 years plus more, and plus they're going to probably add to the 2 years because that was probably a lighter sentence. But they'll probably give you more on that. Plus they're going to give you more on the probation. Plus they're going to give you more for running from the cops. Plus they're going to,
Mm-hmm.
like they're going to find all these ways to, okay, we're going to charge you with this. That might be only 2 years we get out of you, or 5 years, or whatever. But depending on, I'd be surprised that he doesn't get close to life.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, Bo Dukes, ooh-wee.
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
Just real quick on some clarification on some things that we were talking about.
Or are you going to tell everything we said was wrong?
No. Everything we said was right, but just one thing to kind of clean it up a bit for our own clear heads. It states that Dukes, who served in the U.S. Army, pled guilty to a conspiracy charge in 2013 for a scheme to have Department of Defense property shipped to his home in Savannah. He was sentenced to federal prison. He was released in October of 2015. So, and we reported this when we covered Tara's case a long time ago. He did serve actual time for that. The problem with that is his release was based off of him repaying $130,000 in restitution and completing community service.
Right.
And according to this article, he did neither of those. So that, like the captain just pointed out, means you go back to jail. You don't collect $200, you go directly to jail.
Yeah.
But he has not yet, obviously, because he was out on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and did some terrible, horrible things. Thank God those women survived this, because, Captain, I really think that's where this was leading.
Yeah.
Was to a double homicide.
And like I said, she's a hero for herself, but she's a hero for the other person. And I just think, we should applaud that more. Yeah.
And so is the other victim,
she a
too.
victim, but she's a hero. Yeah, oh yeah, but that's what I'm saying.
Because the other victim could have very well have been the reason that he was distracted so that she could flee out the window.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, that's awesome. I mean, I know that sounds, I don't know if that's the right word, but when I hear that story, I go, yes, good for them, because this could have ended worse, and good for you I mean, in those situations, you got to fight.
Yes.
And fighting might mean running, but it's like you have to do something. because we've seen on our show time and time again the ones some put up a fight and they don't make it, but at the end of the day they win the war because they get the person behind bars because they fought the person and they had so much DNA evidence on them that's how they got a conviction. And they never would have got the conviction if the person didn't ever put up a fight.
We've heard experts say so many times, time and time again, don't get in the car. If you're ever faced with somebody trying to get you in a vehicle, even if they're using a gun to get you into a vehicle, don't get in the car. Tell them you're going to have to shoot me out here. Whatever you do, because what we've seen so many times is once they go with the perpetrator's in control at that point.
Yeah. So, all right, 2019. I just want to say, Bo Dukes, what's up with that? Ooh-wee. What's up with that?